Alright, so right now I am working on the Graywater tank, and I'm using the Northwest Conversions 20-gallon driver's side mount tank. So if you've been following along with the plumbing so far, I've got, hard to see, you can see up there coming out basically above the rear axle is the line that comes from the kitchen sink, goes across the van. So we got to bring that, and then right here coming out is the shower drain. It's just hanging down, and that. So on the kitchen sink, I used a Camco sink adapter, which has the trap built into it, so I don't need to worry about any kind of trap. On this shower drain, I'm going to be using a HEPFO sanitary valve, which will act as the waterless trap since it's under the van. You don't have to worry about it freezing in the winter, which is important. And the tank's going to go in this space right here. So obviously above the tank we'll have the heater, stuff. So if I ever need to work on anything with the heater, just have to drop this water tank. Now the nice thing about Northwest Conversion setup is it comes with these brackets here. You can make your own brackets. For the money, it's kind of just worth buying the kit. They give you the brackets you need and all the hardware, and then we're going to use riv nuts and some factory fuel tank locations to secure this tank. You don't have to build some kind of crazy ugly structure to support it. They give you everything you need. Before I put the tank in though, a few things I need to do. I need to plan exactly where my lines are going to go in. The tank needs a vent of some sort. This tank is set up, pretty much all the connections are on this one end. So I'm going to have my waste line coming out here for the exit. You'll see how I do that. And I'll probably use this fitting on the top here. It's a 1/2 inch fitting. That'll be a good vent line. And there's another 1.5 inch fitting right here, which I'll use probably as the input for all the water. If I want to use a smaller input for the sink water, I'll make this a vent and that input. And this one will get most likely just plugged off down here, this little 1/2 inch vent. Now on the top of the tank, there is one more spot for a 1.5 inch NPT threaded connection, which you could use if you had it come like straight down into here. But it is sealed up, you'd have to cut that out, which is easy to do. I will be cutting a hole in the top because I'm going to be installing this tank monitoring sender right here. So this is an 8 inch, which will put it, it's like the perfect length for this tank. So if you're buying this tank, this is the one you want. I'll put a link in the description for it. This works with the, it's more like the Cuss. I think this isn't a Cuss brand though, but it's the same thing. 8 inch, the 240 to 33 ohms unit. This is also compatible with like a Serbo GX if you go that route and you want to monitor your tanks on a Victron system. It'll work with both. For the kit, you will need to buy a 11/32 or 17/32, excuse me, drill bit. For the riv nuts, we do have to drill a couple of holes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of get this positioned where I think I want it, and that will kind of tell me exactly where the fittings are. I have my wiring pre-run. So this is for my tank monitor, and I also have a line for a tank heater. So I will be putting a heater on the bottom of this tank. That way, if it's below freezing, you don't have to worry about your gray water freezing. Some people run a electronic valve on the Graywater tank so they can dump it. There's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times they use those little 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch valves. I don't really like that idea, and you're probably dumping it somewhere you shouldn't when you're using that. Mine will just be like a standard camper dump valve, and then I can dump it. It is just gray water after all, but I could dump it either at a campground in the appropriate place if we're at a campground, or if not, wherever it's appropriate. I think I'm just going to use this here for the tank sensor instead of just cutting a whole hole. Alright, so it's a good idea to test these before you install it. So I put it on my ohms setting here. It's completely empty. So it's 240 to 33. So 240 when it's empty. So right now it's reading 244, 243-ish. So that's good. So full, it's reading right at 32, 33 ohms. About halfway, it's at 84. It's not completely linear. 243, 32, 33. So that one works good. I'm going to make my connection. It's just 2 wires. Alright, so I've lined the top of the tank with this adhesive backed urethane insulation, and what this is going to do is the exhaust for the heater, it's above it and it's not really close to it, but it's a plastic tank just to give it a little bit of protection. And it's also going to cushion where the tank touches, where it's pushed up against the frame of the van. That way there's no plastic on metal chafing that can occur just at those couple frame rails that cross it. Alright, so you can see the brackets kind of will bolt to where the fuel tank bolts to. And there are actually some matching holes in the frame here. Just have to enlarge that hole with the drill bit. Alright, so I've got 2 straps up. There's a third one, and there is no hole in the frame. So we're gonna have to just make a hole in this one instead of just enlarging it. But we'll just use the same drill bit. Get that drilled out and get the rivet put in. This is good. You gotta figure it. 20 gallons, 8 pounds a gallon. It's gonna be about 160 pounds, but with 3 straps, that will be more than enough to make sure that this stays on here. Let's take a little bit of touch-up paint and put it on the exposed steel. Alright, so something I'm adding is just a little piece of nylon where the metal comes in direct contact with the plastic tank. Not that the tank can really move, but it just provides a little bit of added protection against this metal because it is kind of sharp, stainless, from ever rubbing through. Just kind of make sure the edges aren't going to fray on me. You can see from the side here, you can't see anything as far as the tank goes. Alright, so if you've never seen a HEPA valve before, this is what it looks like. And basically inside it's got this one-way valve, so water can go through, can't come back. It saves you from needing, in your shower at least, a vent. And it also saves you from needing a trap So like I said, under a van it works really good because in the winter you don't have to worry about water freezing here. It just passes through. The water's warmer than the cold air, goes in your tank. So what I need to do is, it comes with these fittings. I'll just basically probably thread this on here and this extension piece, and this will connect up right out of the bottom of the van. It comes out, goes this way. You have to notice there's a flow direction on here, and you need to have it down, this side down. Basically tells you that. Here's a new vent. Same thing. So I'm transitioning to this flexible hose here to get back where it came out of the van, kind of. That should give me enough room here. It's also important to have this material like this. That way, if we ever have to take this tank off, there's something we can remove right here. Instead of just solid pipe. I mean, we could cut it, but... Alright, so we got that in there good. And so, quick spritz of paint on the pipe. That's connected. So that's the one from the sink. That little bit of black paint makes it harder to see. Alright, so like I said, I think the advantage of this system is I can use standard RV hookups if I'm at a campground, or I can just dump it if it's in a place where it's okay to do so. Or like I said, I can connect a 3/4 inch regular garden hose to it, because some of the places we go have Graywater connections that use a garden hose. So we just keep a short length of hose in the van that is orange. It's a different color. That way we know, obviously, not to use it for drinking water. So the last thing I have to do before I'm done which I'm not going to show because I have to let it get down below freezing tonight, is I'm going to install this tank heater pad on the bottom of the tank itself. And it's supposed to have a thermostat built into it, so that's why I either have to put it in the freezer or let it sit out here overnight and then hook it up to power tomorrow. And I will make sure it's actually drawing current when it's freezing. But then I was kind of concerned about this smaller area of pipe that I had to run here instead of just having the valve come right off the tank. So they also make these little pipeable heater pads, so you can run them long ways on the pipe like this, or you can actually wrap them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these and we'll wrap it around this pipe here, just to keep, if there's water sitting in this pipe, which there will be, so the rubber elbow where it comes out, hopefully that will help keep anything that's in there from freezing. So these come in a pack of 3 for under $30 or so. So I'll throw a link in the description for all this stuff. You just wire all those in parallel, and I already have the wiring that I pre-ran from the switch inside. So once we get water in the tank, shows a picture of the toilet. This will show how much water is in our gray tank. Obviously this one's for the freshwater tank. And then our tank heater switch, I'll just turn that on. And again, there is a thermostat built into the larger pad. I don't think there's one in the smaller one, but you only flip them on when you know it's going to be below freezing. Alright, so hopefully that all made sense. Again, we've got this acting as the trap. You can see there's our air admittance valve, which is kind of optional. I just put it on there to make sure we have a good flow in our sink so that it drains fast. Obviously the plumbing runs through here, down across the middle as I showed you. In the shower, it goes down through the HEPA valve. And that's a wrap on our Graywater system. Alright, so hopefully the video was helpful. Again, I'll put links in the description to everything I used for this system. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, we'll see you later.